Welcome, welcome. All right. How's everybody doing out there? Hope all is well. I wanted to just make a quick video. I got a wedding this weekend. My daughter's getting married. So exciting. So that's going to be fun this Sunday. Just a beautiful union. I met my in-laws today. They're beautiful people. They live in the UK. So I'm going to be traveling soon all over the world. And I wanted to read tonight a little bit out of the Megillah. I'm in the Holy Godspell. I don't know if you can see her. She's so bright and white. But I wanted to read from chapter 94. Now, if you've been following my channel, I read chapter 95 in the last video. And so we're backtracking just a little bit because I want to do a little bit of talking about Peter and Paul and Peter conversation with him and Yahshua. Is right here, and this is right before he goes into the last video was where Yahshua freed the sacrificial animals on the steps of the Aaronite temple. So that was exciting. If you haven't seen that, you might want to check that out. And this is right before that happens. So I'm gonna read it and get it over with, and then I'll do a little more talking. But this video is basically about Peter and Paul, and the reason for that is because it's here in the Megillah, and we need to know about it. And I'm doing this connecting where I've been going with Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, and I'm realizing that those guys, their stories are in here too, and who they are, and it's all about this Nasarean Christianity. So we're definitely going to be on that topic for the next few videos, maybe for a while, so I don't have to feel rushed like I'm going to leave anything out, because that's all that the New Testament was really about, was establishing this Nasarean Christianity. So Yahshua and Miriam were the founders of the Nasarean Christianity, and that's exciting. And I'll talk more about it after I read this. So this is chapter 94. It's on page 991, and I'm going to read fast, and I'm sorry, but if you have the Megillah, you can follow along. This is the Lord and the Lady and their companions begin the journey towards Jerusalem and are met by Peter, who brings news of the death of John the Baptizer. So it says, after the return to the region of Mount Carmel, after the trips to Alexandria, Crete, and the heavenly adventures at El Cush, the Lord and the Lady and the companions began a slow journey towards Jerusalem. So it was a slow journey because we made a multitude of stops in various locations prepared by the advanced teams. In these locations, Yahshua preached his general evangelical sermon. One day, not far from Bethany and Jerusalem, where the Lord wished to visit Bethany one last time before entering Jerusalem, Peter the Ebonite, along with his disciple Andrew, showed up at our campsite. Coming upon Miriam while she was gathering wood for our fire, Peter said, "Woman, where is your husband? Now that Yahshua has taken away your shame by marrying you, I no longer object to his traveling with you, but these unmarried women amongst your companions must be sent away." Miriam replied, "My husband is meditating by the spring. I'll take you to him." When, I can't stand this, but listen. When he was taken to Yahshua, Peter said, "I bring news of the death of John the Baptizer." The circumstances of his death were as follows. Peter then told Yahshua the following untrue story of the death of John. Peter said, "John is dead, because though I warned him against the vile practices, he sinned by baptizing women and permitted him to travel with this party. The last time I saw him and again pointed out his errors, John rebuked me and sent me away, and so he was struck dead by God. Yeah, God killed John for not heeding my warnings. As I was his spiritual corrector, lo, I am now John's spiritual successor. God has revealed to me that I will also be your successor. Even now, I'm willing to travel with you and correct your errors, but I will only do so if you first send away the unmarried women in your group. By that act, you will declare your willingness to accept my corrections. For neither I nor my disciple Andrew, the first of many to come, will travel with the company that rejects biblical morality. Be warned, Yahshua. John the Baptizer refused to heed my warnings and was struck dead by God." So Yahshua replied, Your message of the death of John is in conflict with the report of a trusted line of Zion. For prior to your appearance here, I had another visitor come from Jerusalem with a different account of the death of John the Baptizer. That trusted line reported that John was arrested by soldiers of Herod and was taken to Herod's dungeon to be interrogated. When John refused to inform Herod's interrogators, torturers is a more accurate term for them, of my plans and of the locations of various Nasarean safe houses and places of worship, they beheaded him. Herod's network of spies then fed false reports to the crowds, claiming that John was beheaded for having made inappropriate advances towards Herod's daughter. Now, many versions of that lie are spreading, changing with every telling. Peter replied, "Let's not argue about how he died. Will you repent his ways so that I may travel with your company without being polluted?" Yahshua replied, "I tell you truly, Peter, I would die for John, even as he had died to protect me, yea, and to protect other Nasareans. If he was polluted in your view, what you call pollution, I call the pure water of the Christ family, which is the water of love." Peter replied, "I will depart now, but will always remain near. When the time is ripe, I will enter your camp and again offer my services. For behold, it is ordained by God that I am your successor, the cornerstone of the church I will build in your name. Yea, I will build my church in your name, for I acknowledge you as the Christ that must be crucified according to the scriptures. Even so, as is my God-given role, I will correct your teachings. Though in my boundless humility, I will do so in your name. For lo, I see no other way to fulfill the scriptures than to preach Christ crucified, and that is your role, certainly not mine." It says, then Peter and Andrew left the camp. So, now, if you haven't heard, there's a couple of other, they're on my channel, about Peter leading the first schism against the Lord and the lady before they were married. And he was listening at their tent. And that's pretty informative, that video, too, about how Peter felt about the divine feminine. One more place in the Megillah where Sarah Jalil, I really just want to read her words because she had a few things to say about Peter. Because Sarah Jalil is the authorized scribe of the New Testament of the Lord and the Lady. So as she was telling us this first story about Peter, who he was and stuff, within Peter a voice spoke saying, "Peter, this man is the key to your own future power, for you, Peter, will be his interpreter and will thus be the heir to his throne." Peter believed that this voice, the same voice that had inspired him to confront the leaders of the Aaronite Essenes, was the voice of God. But as revealed by the Spirit of truth, Jah, the omen, Peter heard not the voice of Jah, the omen. For lo, the voice that spoke to Peter was that of the false glory, the glory that speaks to the vanity of our ego. The false light seems bright to itself, but in truth that light is like darkness compared to the transcendental radiance of supernal light. I, the daughter of Megillah, scribe of the Lord and the Lady, would not have the reader think unkindly of Peter. Listen to what she says. Though I report his encounters with the Lord and the Lady in a manner that exposes the false glory that guided him, for lo, Peter's light is greater than many in this world. Yea, the false glory now has the edge in this contested world. Wherefore, the Lord and the Lady have come and will come again. Behold, Peter is a bright star to those far beneath him on the ladder of consciousness. So what she says, Peter is a comrade to those who are of equal consciousness to him, but Peter is of dim light compared to one far above him. And the Lord and the Lady are far beyond Peter on the ladder of consciousness. And the lowest Nasarean initiate is like a radiant star to Peter's light. Peter, as will be seen in my report, claimed to be the successor of Yahshua. Peter claimed that he had come to interpret and improved the teachings of the Lord. And he openly rejected Miriam, the divine feminine, and the holy Megillah. So he embraced some of Yahshua's doctrine and established a messianic church in his name, a church that was later hijacked by Paul. Peter never became a Nasarean, but instead remained an Aaronite. Lo, Peter did not understand true succession in the kingdom of heaven. One succeeds another in consciousness, not according to worldly ways. One succeeds another by being qualitatively more advanced on the spiral of spiritual ascension. As Magdalene told McDonough, spiral is as spiral does. Yahshua far outshone Peter in the true glory of supernal light. Peter's belief that he could claim the role of spiritual successor to Christ was wrong. Neither was Peter appointed by Yahshua to be his successor to any religious office or title. But Peter may one day repent and ascend in an upward spiral of true glory, and those lower than Peter will be lifted a bit, even by his false glory. For even a bit of the doctrine of Yahshua will lift those in the dark pit to a higher rung on the ascension ladder. But know this from the scribe who walked with the Lord and lady. Peter never was a disciple of the Lord and was not his true successor. Now I, Jaleel, birth daughter of McDonough, adopted daughter of Miriam, continue my report on Peter's first meeting with the Lord Christ. Right now, I'm going to go into those extended footnotes and just read a little bit of this, because did you hear her say that she doesn't want us to think unkindly of Peter, and that, you know, he may repent one day? But I've been telling you about this well-devised plan that Yahshua and Miriam had. So for Peter to say, for Peter to say what he said, I mean, the most important person was already convinced that Yahshua was the Messiah that the Aaronite scriptures talked about. But right now, we're just going to read this last part and get out of here about Paul. It's both about both Peter and Paul, and I like the way that David Day broke it down. So this is expanded footnote 7, and I just wanted to make this video about Peter and Paul so that as I'm talking about this Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, you guys might have questions, thinking about, well, what about the Romans and Acts and all of those epistles of Paul? Well, I'm not vouching for the epistles of Paul, and I don't think that Paul's writings were divinely inspired. But listen at what Day says about what Yahshua and them knew. It says, Yahshua and the Nasarean priesthood recognized that Yahshua, though a Nasarean, would be recognized as Messiah by many mainstream Jews. So they realized that. It says, and that those Jews would interpret him through their own understandings and scriptures. Both Peter and Paul, though both abandoned key elements of the Nasarean doctrine and were banned from mentioning Nasarean scriptures in public, nevertheless helped a form of Christianity that the masses could accept spread the world over. And now that this has occurred, millions of people the world over love and worship Yahshua. The world may be better prepared to receive his second coming, for in truth, even the watered-down Christianity of Peter and Paul is a much higher form of religion than that of the mainstream Judaism. That is because the mainstream New Testament is a much higher vibratory frequency than the mainstream Torah. Thus, the schisms of Peter and Paul were likely predicted by Yahshua, who knew. It's telling us, Yahshua knew that they would serve a good purpose in the end by elevating the religion of the masses who were not yet ready for the full gospel. So, I just noticed that I remember Sarah Jaleel saying, like, she didn't want us to be thinking unkindly of Peter and be holding no grudges, like, oh man, my mama had me in that false church. lying demons and blah, blah, blah. No, we gotta kind of like graduate. We gotta elevate on the next level and be grateful for what these guys did do, because the world was so bad back then. It was Yahshua and Miriam that decided that yeah, we came, we saw, and we they need more time because they ain't even ready. Like the way that women were being treated, and Peter, that was the main reason why he didn't want to be a Nasarean, is because of their issues of the divine feminine. So we read that already. So all right, I'm gonna get out of here. He said a whole bunch of stuff about women can't speak in the church, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not vouching for that. We're just gonna talk about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All right.